So let's imagine that you're seeing me for the first time in your life, which you might be actually, since this is YouTube and things happen, and you see me dressed up like this. I don't know how to show off more of myself. And then let's imagine that this hasn't happened, you have never seen me again, we're going to point zero of this story, and you're seeing me for the first time again, but this time I'm dressed up like this. So how does your impression change? You will probably say that it changes drastically, and you would be right, because fashion does matter and style does matter most of all when you're trying to make a good first impression in those first few moments when a person is seeing you. Today's video is going to be about the topic of style and fashion and how it does matter in my personal opinion. I will try and explain to you how to make your life better by choosing the right style for you, and how we can use fashion to literally change our lives around, change the way people see us, and most importantly, we can change the way we perceive ourselves, and this way hopefully make ourselves happier overall. So I would like to start by saying that fashion is one of the easiest ways of expressing yourself without using words, without using any specific tool apart from basically pieces of clothing and yourself, your face, your figure, your hair. And I think that with fashion, it is a very easy way to show your intentions. It's the easiest way to show who you are, show a little bit of your character, a little bit of your personality without even starting to speak. The speaking, it comes later, but what you see first in a person is the way they look. And of course there are lots of people who don't really mind the way you look, but the first thing that kind of sticks out to me is the way a person looks. And I am not going to classify in this video how people look in terms of bad and good, because I don't believe in those terms. I would rather see it as looking in one style versus some different one. So you can tell the world about yourself very easily just by using clothing. And this way you can understand if I am your person or not. You can understand whether you want to start a conversation with me and know about me or not. Of course, this is very superficial and there are much more deeper layers to human communication, but I'm just talking about the first layer, the very top of how a conversation might be started and how you can get to know something about a person. And actually, when you see an interesting outfit, when you see an interesting piece of clothing in a person, starting a conversation becomes 10 times easier because you already have a topic to start talking about just right away. So you can approach a person who, for example, has a very interesting piece of jewelry on them, and you can immediately start a conversation by asking, what is this piece of jewelry, where did you get it, because I like it very much, it's very beautiful, I don't know, I like your style just in general. And it can immediately kind of create a nice connection between you two. The second thing that I want to talk about is how style choices, some defined style choices, can actually save you a lot of time when it comes to choosing clothes when you go shopping, when you're trying to dress up. Because if you have a well organized and well combinable, if that's even a word, wardrobe, you can actually dress up in less time, and you can dress up always looking your best because you already have a certain amount of good combinations that you know work. If you buy all your clothes fitting into a certain color scheme that you know suits you, it suits your face, your colors in your body, it will immediately make you feel more confident. The same with shapes. If you choose the right shapes and the right forms for your body type and for your face type and for your level of yin and yang in your body and your face, you will immediately feel more comfortable in your clothes, and you will know that you look fabulous. Because I'm a firm believer that every person is beautiful in their own way, and every body every face, every color scheme can be styled in a way that will look much more flattering and that will make you feel your best and therefore express in your best form. And by having a defined style, it becomes much easier to go shopping because you already know which clothes you're going to be seeking out for, which clothes you're going to be interested in. And if you see something that doesn't fit the general idea of what you want to look like, what you generally look like, and what your wardrobe is designed for, you will just not buy clothes that will then not be wearable because they don't suit you and they don't combine with anything that you have already in your wardrobe. So this is a very important feature. It is a time saver. Of course, there are people who are minimalists, extreme minimalists, and they live by the standard that you don't need a variety of clothing. You just need 10 t-shirts of the same color and shape, and then buy 2 pairs of jeans and you're ready to go for any occasion. That is a way of seeing it, and if you feel confident and comfortable living this way, then it is nice, and like it's your life, do whatever you want with it. But for me personally, and I think for most people, that is not very realistic because you will immediately start feeling bored when you start wearing just the same clothing over and over and over again every day of your life. It just becomes boring, it becomes very uninteresting, and it kind of simplifies your life in a bad way, not only in a good way. So instead, what you might try to do is just choose a style or a number of styles, like I did, for example, that you know you like, and you know that on different occasions you can wear different styles, you can wear different combinations, and that when you have different moods, each of those few styles that you have available in your wardrobe will kind of go well with your current mood. Well, let me explain that to you on my personal example. I really like historical clothing and things that are historically inspired. I also really like clothing that looks ethnic, that is very boho inspired, maybe even ancient looking, so let's say very flowy fabrics, shapeless clothing, very big and kind of prominent jewelry. I also like very feminine style where you accentuate your figure, where you kind of romanticize your entire look and make it very flowy and very lush and very basically very romantic, with again kind of a stroke of historicalness. Then I also really like a 90s style, you know. I just think the 90s were very interesting in terms of fashion. So what I do basically is I rewear and reuse my mother's old clothing that she wore in the 90s or in the very early 2000s. My mom had a very amazing style, she still has, she just has a different style now, and the clothing that she used to wear are now my clothing, and I can combine them in a more modern way or in a more historical way or in a way that suits my personality and the way I view myself. My style is not one single thing. I have a combination of different styles that I use depending on my mood. If you choose the right style for the right occasion, and if you choose the right pieces of clothing that suit your body and your face and your colors and your personality, of course, you will just immediately make yourself happier and you will immediately feel more confident in your own skin. The next thing that I want to mention is that your style is a way of finding your people. It's a way of finding your friend group, people that you might find a common language with, something to talk about. Because again, style is a glimpse of your personality. If I find people online that dress in a historical way, I will immediately know that, oh, this person is definitely interested in the same things that I am interested in. I am a fan of sewing, I'm a fan of fashion history, art history in general. If I see a woman dressed up in like clearly Victorian fashion, I will approach her and start a conversation about fashion history, about whether she made this outfit or not, whether she likes this period only or other periods. What does she like about other fashion periods? I don't know, something like this. It will be so much easier to find a common ground when you're dressed up in a way that shows off your personality without words. And of course, it might be a fun experiment to also talk to people, meet people, and make friendships with people who don't coincide with you at all, because it's just a way of knowing different perspectives, different interests. Maybe you will find something in those very different people that you like, and you didn't even know that you might have had this interest. It is a very interesting part of human lives, and if you want to make your life kind of more multifaceted and more filled with different things, you might approach people who are very different to you. And if you want to stay in a comfort zone, just find people that would understand you no matter what, and find common interests with you and go to the same activities with you. Just approach people who dress up like you. So fashion is very powerful in that sense, because fashion lets you know immediately who a person is, what you might talk to them about, and that is the power of it all. But there is another power to it. The amazing thing about clothes is that if you put on like a very business style jacket and you look all like classy and focused, it is very likely that your mood is kind of going to tune in with what you're dressed up like. And it has happened to me many times. You know, if I want to concentrate on something, I dress up in much more fitted clothing, in kind of tighter and more tidy clothing that is probably of colors that are not as bright. And this kind of formal attire immediately puts me in a mood to work, to do something, to get focused, to be businesswoman-like ish. And then if I dress up in a more loose way, in more loose fabrics, if you want to relax and just feel like you're just soaking in chillness, you might want to dress up in a very loose manner, not mind your makeup, just, yeah, sweatpants it is. Clothing really puts you in a certain mood, and it might really help you in situations where you need to feel one way or another. If you need to concentrate, it's one thing. If you need to be energized, it's another thing. If you need to move around a lot, again, it's all about the right choice of style, the right choice of fabrics, the right choice of shapes, the right amount of details, accessories, all of that. And throughout history, mankind determined themselves by their clothing choices. So let's say if you were a rich person, you would dress in one way to show that class, to show that you have the money to dress in a certain way. And then poorer people, working class, would dress up in a different way to show that, well, they're working, they need to be more practical. And that was before. And you see how fashion, you know, it always, for thousands of years, literally, it had a meaning and it had a purpose, and it was different for every class, for every country, for every culture. But the good thing about our modern society is that the class difference is kind of not seen as much in the day-to-day life. The amazingness of our current situation is that we have access to clothing of all styles, for all shapes, for all sizes, for all types of appearance, and we kind of can blend in, but we can also stand out no matter your financial situation. Because darling, if you're watching this video, it means that you have access to internet, and if you have access to internet, that means that you have access to probably buy some clothing or make some clothing for yourself, because you can learn how to do it. And if you have the time for it, I definitely suggest try making your own clothing. It's life-changing. And if you have the time to watch this video, then you have no excuse. You might as well have the time to invest in finding your own style, finding what you like best, finding what suits you. Don't try to tell that, oh, I can't do this because I don't have enough time, because I don't have enough money, imagination, whatever. Clothing can be thrifted. that will look amazing on you. You can find yourself liking things that are not expensive at all, or if you do have the money to invest in fashion, you might as well discover that not all expensive clothing is actually better than cheap clothing. Actually, most times it's the same quality, it's just the brand name that gives it its expensiveness. Do not be very focused on money, and do not think that you cannot look amazing having little financial freedom. I can just find fabric and make my own clothing that will look good, that I will feel comfortable in, that I will feel happy in. So I can make my own clothing that is quite cheap actually, if you have the right knowledge and if you can use it, and if you have just some time to invest in it. You have a lot of options. You have the option of reusing old clothes that your parents wore. That is also an amazing choice, and it is very original, and most times it looks kind of just very interesting. It's also very eco-friendly, and it's just, you know, you support the planet and you support your happy mood and style and everything. You have freedom of choice nowadays that you wouldn't have, let's say, 100 years ago or 200 years ago. We have less class difference showing in clothing. We can all kind of create our own way of expressing ourselves through fashion. And you know, I really don't like how nowadays fashion is all about following a certain trend for like 3 months and then it goes out of fashion and you have to change your entire wardrobe and life around it. This is actually very destructive, both for you, your personality, your life, and the life of planet Earth, because it's not very eco-friendly to just buy clothing and then throwing it away, or just, you know, investing in things that will not last for a long time. I am not pro fashion, I am not pro trends, I am pro personal choice and personal style, and also comfort. Because if you don't feel comfortable in your clothing, let's say the materials are not comfortable, you feel sweaty and nasty and you cannot move freely in your clothing, or maybe the shape and the structure is not fit to your body, that can make your life very uncomfortable. Let's say you have a work where you need to stand in front of people and speak, talk for long periods of time. If you feel uncomfortable in your clothing, if it's itchy, if the material is bad, if you're sweating and you have like sweat marks on your armpits, you will immediately feel so uncomfortable. You will feel not confident at all. You will just feel horrible, and this will make your performance much worse automatically. Find things that are not only pretty or trendy or fit the aesthetic of the modern world. Find something that suits you, that suits your interests, and that also makes you feel confident and comfortable in your own body. I try not to buy super cheap clothing in just mass market brands, because I know how these clothes are made and I do not want to invest in this. Of course, I'm not perfect, and I have a lot of clothing from the past that I bought from stores like this, but nowadays I don't generally go shopping that often. I just might go shopping once a year, once half a year, just see what's out there. I always end up being super disappointed because I don't find anything that I really like, and I just find that clothing nowadays, they're kind of too stiff or too loose, or the form just isn't right, and the modern fashions they just don't suit my soul. I like reusing old clothing. I like making my own clothing nowadays. Thankfully, a few months ago I started investigating and learning that new skill that I'm so passionate about. I am now loving making my own clothing, and I really hope to be able to construct an entire wardrobe made by me, by my own hands, by my own brain, and making it just fit me perfectly and out of good materials. I don't really have much else to say. It's just all about feeling your best. And if you oversimplify things in life, even if it's fashion, I do not think it brings much joy. People just nowadays, I feel like we oversimplify everything. We simplify relationships, We simplify the way we speak, the way we spend our time. We simplify every task we do. And this just makes life very fast, and it makes life very, it lacks interest, it lacks detail. And I think that we should bring back that sense of detail and that sense of putting in the time and the effort into the things that you do daily. And I think that it is much more interesting and much more valuable when you really put your 100% into something that might make your life more beautiful, that might bring some interest back into your life. So oversimplifying the way you look and just wearing jeans and white t-shirts all the time, it just feels like such a loss of opportunity to me. It feels like a loss of identity. It feels like you're trying so hard to simplify that you lose your own spark. You don't let it flourish. You don't let it create something new and something amazing and show your own ways, show your own personality, show what you're interested in. So with all of that being said, I really hope that you found my words valuable or just interesting or just entertaining. If you want to share your own opinion about the topic that I've been talking about, please share it with me in the comment section below. I really hope that you will stay with me on this channel. Thank you very much for being here, and goodbye.